what if we go one further than that? Because the only reason that I support this is because this is the area where that interchange goes in. And we've talked about 4,000 additional units already coming in and what that does to the traffic in Mountain Green. And the only hope I have to take that to mitigate that impact on a rural community is to direct that traffic off of Old Highway. And if you're talking about, with the change in legislation this past year, we were never gonna qualify on traffic count alone in Morgan County. We were just never gonna get there. But if you talk about the economic impact incentive that now comes with this new legislation, that puts this back on the docket for qualifying. That's 46 million, and I don't think Morgan County is coming up with 46 million for an interchange on its own.
So Tina, for the residents that are here at benefit, state legislation previously, UDOT, everything was based on traffic count. Under new legislation, UDOT is now taking a look at economic impact. They're finally realizing that as economic continues to grow, we need to start looking at these traffic interchanges and opportunities. So with this development starting, with all the housing starting and everything that's going in, this has the potential to really ratchet it or bump Morgan County way up on that list to a point that that funding, instead of in 2030, they can do the EIS study in the next year or two, and those are good for 5 years, and UDOT doesn't want to waste that money. So within that time frame, they will come up with 46 million and put the interchange in. And you're absolutely correct. It would take the traffic off of Old Highway to make it a thoroughfare going on up. Now, you're still going to have the homes that are here. They're still going to utilize Old Highway. But as Snow Basin develops and everything else,
2,500 at Snow Basin.
They'll just use that as the ramp to go on up to Snow Basin, and they won't be using Old Highway, which does have to be maintained, snow plowed, and everything else.
And I'll point out to the council that in the Johnson Development Agreement, those requirements for them to keep that interchange area open, that right-of-way open, expired January 1 of 2017. And without it being indicated under a UDOT project, on January 1, 2017, they only had to hold it until 2020, and it's not. January 1, we're done being able to hold them to keep that interchange right-of-way open.
I don't feel a vote on the RDA, you vote for the interchange.
Oh, I disagree.
It's a state,
I
it's a
disagree.
state law. States can build, it's just like on, Highway 89, UDOT's given about 132 homes. So to me, the vote on the RDA is not voting for or against an interchange.
I would disagree. John and I have worked that project for 3 years. And every road leads to the economic impact of it. Everything we've done on it, it goes back to this. Without us being able to incentivize it somehow with the commercial around it, that's the argument we've made to the Transportation Commission. That's the argument that we've made to UDOT. This is the argument we've made all the way along, that based on the economic impact, that this is now a feasible project. Because by the time we get there on traffic counts, Old Highway will have been made 4 lanes long before we get there on traffic.
UDOT will build it.
UDOT, the last Wasatch Front Regional Council meeting I attended, which was last week, they are going to have the ranking and ratings done for the change in Senate Bill 136, which requires, and Daryl, if I'm missing things, you might straighten me out, but which requires the ranking and rating to go to economic development, jobs, and congestion. So in talking with a bunch of guys from UDOT when we were down there after the meeting and during the meeting, they're going to have these ranking and ratings ready to go.
So traffic no more is part of the
Traffic's
equation.
well, it's part of the equation.
It's
But
not, it's not the driver.
congestion is the traffic, okay? What really tips the scales is jobs and economic development. So in talking to some of the people at Wasatch Front and to UDOT, they said exactly what Marlon says. This has a tendency to push the Mountain Green Interchange way up. That being said, if there is no development there, it's going to go back to 2035, 2040. And then you're going to have traffic that is gonna be terrible with all the rest of these homes going in and all the rest of that. You're gonna have to do a 4-lane on Old Highway regardless if anybody wants it or not. Because you're not gonna have an interchange if that economic development doesn't come. That's right out of UDOT's mouth. So,
Who from UDOT said that? I'd like to clarify that, because that's different than we've been here. Who was it?
I'll get with you after, because I don't wanna say it in here.
Why?
Because I don't, because the guy told me that on anonymity, because he didn't want me to taint some of the other things that was
Wait
going
a
on.
minute, so we're gonna base a decision on something said? in
No,
that?
what, you're gonna, that's common knowledge that that thing's not gonna come. If you don't, why would they build an interchange there if you don't have the
This
congestion?
isn't common knowledge. You're saying that somebody on condition of anonymity made this comment to you, and you want us to base this decision based on that comment. If it's the new legislation, why is he having to hide his identity in order to tell you?
Because they have not got the ranking and ratings done yet.
So we
so
don't know
he-
what that's going to be.
No, we
This
don't
is
know
an
what that
assumption.
is gonna be. The assumption is, from what everybody's talking about down at Wasatch Front Regional Council, and some of those areas that are involved in that, think MAG and all the rest of them, is that it's gonna be more tainted towards economic development and jobs.
Because when the legislature debated this, there was a lot of discussion how that's not going to be the factor. It's going to be a portion, but it would be a very small portion. So
Well,
you're saying that's changed now?
they're gonna weigh them. I don't know how much percentage you're gonna put on economic development, how much you're gonna put on jobs, and how much you're gonna put on traffic.
When we met the governor in 2 meetings, he told us the money he's gonna spend is gonna be moved into traffic. And I look at it this way, if you drive through Salt Lake, Utah County, and UDOT, I would be very surprised, they're gonna spend $46 million on interchange when you drive through Salt Lake and Utah County morning and afternoon.
Well, if you look at some of the projects that UDOT does, I don't think any of them ever pay for themselves. And this one pays for itself. Because the money that they get, we get very little money out of it for property tax and everything else. The state gets the majority of it because of sales tax and all that.
But it's still gonna be done when UDOT wants. I don't think they're gonna do it as we want.
Not necessarily.
Not, that's not, so I sit on Wasatch Front Economic Development Committee, and this has been a topic of conversation all the way along. And several of the people who sat on that committee at the state legislature, it wasn't just the legislators who sat in on that committee in those rankings decisions. There were commissioners from across the state, and they have made that very, very clear in all of those economic development meetings, that this is one of the reasons why they were doing this, so that they could start looking at projects that would pay for themselves over time. And they want to get out in front of the traffic problems instead of always being reactionary. And this gave them the tool to be able to weigh it that way. So it qualifies based on that.
Well, and I guess my question would be, Roland, is that I don't know if you're giving away tax money that you don't have, because 0% is 0, 0. So once that goes in, you're gonna be at least collecting 50% of whatever commercial goes in there and sales tax and all that kind of thing. So, and I think that's what, if I think back of when we did the leadership in Austin and brought this up, we had a chance to move that closer to Mountain Green and talk to the city and said, we're probably gonna do that if we don't get some kind of incentive to build this. Well, the incentive that we worked out was the road. Well, that's infrastructure. The road, the sewer, the water, all that kind of stuff, because we would have left. Now, at the time, we were putting in $350,000 of the city's budget by virtue of what Randy Sand come up with when we did the agreement. And we based it on $9 million. When the dealership was sold in 2012, it was doing close to $30 million. So almost tripled in revenue because it was on the freeway. And I think the thing that you're gonna find out is if that interchange goes in and these grocery stores go in, these revenue numbers aren't gonna be close. They're gonna go, because you're gonna have the houses to support it, because there's 2,000 going in some places and 530 going into here. That's what everybody's looking at, and that's what Lewis, Young, Robert, and Birmingham said when they did this study, that the county paid half for, or we got the grant through economic, go-ed. They stated that in all the studying they're doing with this specific area, it will work.
But part of that was, it was taking the people people that were along Old Highway, whether they're getting off in Peterson or they're getting off at the mouth of the canyon, it now focuses them through that one section, which creates the drive-by value on that section, which is what helps it become sustainable faster there. Because you no longer are splitting it in half, coming from one direction and coming from the other. You're doing your impact along one drive. And that's before you even consider, I mean, we've talked about it multiple times. You've got another, by my count, it's not 4,000 homes, it would be 3,746. So pretty much 4,000. But that's what's already permitted along there. When you consider that traffic impact and those continuing to come, that's what is going to help keep those businesses in that area, because it creates a value to the area. It's a synergy.
And I don't think anybody's arguing against the existence or the creation of the interchange. I know I am not.